On this episode of AMC Movie Talk, John and the panel discuss The Rock playing Hercules, Matthew Vaughn potentially directing Star Wars, and we speak to James Bond himself, Daniel Craig, and much more. So hang tight, AMC Movie Talk starts right now.
Welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. This is episode number 24, originally recorded on Thursday, November the 8th, 2012, at the beautiful AMC Burbank 16 in Burbank, California. Hercules. Thanks so much for joining us. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Greetings, salutations, everybody. Welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. As always, I'm your host. My name is John Campia. Joining me, as always, first of all, sitting to my immediate right, she's Associate Editor of Movie News here at AMC Theatres Movie News, Miss Jennings Roth-Cornett. Roth, how you doing?
Hello. How's it going?
Very good, thank you. And sitting next to Roth, making his triumphant return, he is director of the popular animated series
Metacropolis.
I was going to say Robopocalypse.
Yeah.
That's a Steven Spielberg film coming out.
It's Metacropolis.
Metalocalypse. And the upcoming Grimm Fairy Tales, Mr. John Schnepp.
What's up?
John, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on?
Where have you been?
I went to a bunch of premieres. I'm one of the directors on the ABCs of Death that is coming out through Magnolia. So I went to the Austin Fantastic Fest premiere, and then did the Comic-Con premiere of Grimm Fairy Tales, the New York Comic-Con. Then went to New Orleans as a vacation. But it was just like all of October was an insane travel month, which I'm happily not going anywhere.
You're back for a while.
Yeah, so.
I hear amazing things about ABCs of Death, by the way.
Well, we just did the AFI Fest over this weekend. So yesterday they had a screening yesterday, and then on Saturday midnight, and we got really a great response from the audience, and I'm very happy with it. And it's 26 different directors from all around the world. So I mean, wait till you guys see the Japanese. There's 4 Japanese directors. They're crazy, just bonkers.
Well, we're glad that you're back. Joining us is always there, the man behind the machine, the guy who makes everything happen over here, Mr. Dennis Zen. Dennis, how you doing?
Doing well.
And sitting at the back table, actually, this is her first time with us. She's one of the newest members of the team here at AMC, Miss Suri Serrano. Suri, how you doing?
I'm fabulous. Thanks for having me. Hi, everybody.
Sorry.
All right, so we are going to start off this episode of AMC Movie Talk the way we start off every episode of AMC Movie Talk, by getting you caught up to date on everything going on in the world of movie news with your news flash. Shortly after it was announced that Disney was bringing us Star Wars Episode 7 in 2015, rumors started swirling furiously that Matthew Vaughn was going to be the director. Vaughn, who directed such films as X-Men First Class, Kick-Ass, and Stardust, by the way, one of my favorite, most underrated films of all time,
Second.
suddenly and mysteriously dropped out of directing the sequel to X-Men First Class, which led many to wonder if he was leaving so he could direct the next Star Wars film. Well, according to Kick-Ass creator and Fox studio overlord of comic book films, Mark Millar, that's probably not the case. According to Miller, Vaughn decided to step down from X-Men Days of Future Past so the two of them could get to work on bringing Miller's graphic novel, The Secret Service, to the big screen. He doesn't explicitly say that Vaughn is not directing the next Star Wars film, but if Miller is correct, it does seem unlikely.
Remember how Paramount has been working for years to bring us a Top Gun sequel? Well, that has been officially canceled. Tony Scott, producer Jerry Bruckheimer, and screenwriter Christopher McQuarrie had all been working on bringing Top Gun 2 when Scott passed away a short while ago. Things have been quiet on the Top Gun front since that time, but reports have emerged this week that Paramount seems ready to scrap the project altogether and possibly focus on a 3D re-release of the original Top Gun instead, which seems to probably make the most sense.
Remember that rumor that Mark Wahlberg was going to star in Transformers 4? Then, director Michael Bay debunked that rumor? Yeah, well, it might be true after all. Bay himself took to his website once again and wrote the following. I squashed a rumor that was on the internet last week. It was about Mark Wahlberg. Mark was rumored to be starring in Transformers 4. We are working on another movie together, not T4. I had such a great time working with Mark on Pain and Gain, and he gave such a great performance. Well, let's say that very internet chatter gave me some ideas. We are at the inception of our story process right now on T4. Let's say some ideas are gaining traction with me and my writer, so I'm here to say thanks to the internet chatter.
You're welcome. I squash your rumor. I squash it. Harry Potter director David Yates is currently on the hunt for the star of his next movie. Yates is developing a new Tarzan film for Warner Brothers and is currently finalizing the script. At this point, the rumors are that 4 actors are in the running for the popular character. They include Tom Hardy, who of course played Bane in the recent Batman film, Henry Cavill, who is Superman himself in the upcoming Man of Steel, Alexander Skarsgård, ladies, best known for his role in the TV series True Blood, and Charlie Hunnam, who is currently the lead in the TV show Sons of Anarchy, and I believe is also in Guillermo. Isn't he in
Pacific
Rim? Yeah, ladies. Pick.
Oscar-nominated Paul Giamatti from Cinderella Man, Oscar winner Billy Bob Thornton from Sling Blade, and Oscar nominee Jackie Weaver from Animal Kingdom have signed on to the John F. Kennedy feature film Parkland, being produced by Tom Hanks and Gary Goetzman. Parkland recounts the dramatic true story of the chaotic events that occurred at Parkland Hospital in Dallas on the day President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in 1963. The film is set to open in AMC Theatres in 2013 to coincide with the 50th anniversary of the assassination.
Strange anniversary.
Strange.
Brad Pitt's highly anticipated and highly troubled film, World War Z, will release its first trailer sometime today. Very exciting. For now, they have also finally released their first teaser poster, which you can see on the AMC Theatres site and here right now. World War Z revolves around the United Nations employee Jerry Lane, who is Pitt, who traverses the world in a race against time to stop the zombie pandemic that is toppling armies and governments and threatening to decimate humanity itself.
Swirling zombie cloud.
Always decimating humanity. I know what you're all thinking. We need a Hercules movie. Well, consider your wish granted. It's now being reported that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has signed on to star as Hercules in a movie version of the graphic novel Hercules: The Thracian Wars. It was also announced that the movie will be directed by Rush Hour and X-Men 3 director Brett Ratner and will be shot in early 2013. This is a revisionist take on the classic mythology, where the story takes place in a world where the supernatural and gods do not exist. More details as they become available.
Aforementioned upcoming Superman film Man of Steel is going to be presented in 3D after all, no big surprise. Although the movie itself was not shot in 3D, director Zack Snyder said the following: "The film is going to be a visually exciting experience in all formats, 2D, 3D, and IMAX. Anticipating how audiences today embrace 3D, we designed and photographed the movie in a way that would allow Man of Steel to captivate those moviegoers while respecting fans who prefer a more traditional cinematic experience. We've taken great measures to ensure that the film and the story come first, and 3D is meant as an enhancement."
I.e. afterthought.
Just thought I'd say that again.
And that will do it for your news flash. Hey folks, listen, before we go any further in the show, we got a whole bunch of stuff we're going to get to. Pause what you're doing. Just stop what you're doing for a second. We need you to do something for you. You see on the screen a subscribe to our YouTube channel button. We want you to take a minute, pause, and hit subscribe. Just hit subscribe so you can subscribe to the AMC Theatres YouTube channel to keep up to date on all the movie news, our editorials, new trailers, and of course, every single episode of AMC Movie Talk. So stop what you're doing, click subscribe, and become one of our subscribers. And we thank you so much for your support. Hey, I also want to let you know, as most of you guys know, at the end of every episode of AMC Movie Talk, we have a segment called Mailbag where we take your emails, pick the best ones, and answer them on screen. And we love that you do that. You can email us at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Once again, that's amcmovietalk@gmail.com. But we did a little experiment a couple weeks ago where we asked you guys to send in some video emails, to record a video of yourself asking questions and sending them in. Well, we loved the response that we got, and we'd love for you guys to send in more. So record a little video of yourself asking a question, keep it to under 30 seconds, make sure it's a movie-related topic, and send us your video email questions. Once again, you can email them to amcmovietalk@gmail.com. And here's the thing. If we select your video email to be and to put it on the show, we're going to send you free passes to AMC Movie Theaters. We're going to send you a couple free movie tickets to any movie of your choice to AMC Movie Theaters. So by all means, start getting your videos together, email them in to us, and we'll go from there. All right, time for us to jump into some of these topics here, and let's start with this one. I'm going to go on record right now and say this. I think, and we might have talked about this on the show before, I think Brett Ratner gets a harsher rap than he deserves. I mean, yeah, X-Men 3 was the worst of the X-Men films, and a lot of people didn't think it was any good. But you know what? you have a very hard time convincing me it is a wretchedly awful movie. I think there were redeeming qualities about that film. I know some people that actually like it. But bottom line, I don't think it was this horrible, horrible movie that some people like to make it out to be. I wasn't a fan of the first Rush Hour, wasn't a fan of the third Rush Hour, but I love the third Rush Hour. And you know what? That tower heist was pretty entertaining that he did. So I think he gets a bad rap. Him and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who I'm a huge Rock fan. I think he's great in action. He's got so much freaking charisma, it's unbelievable. They announced that they're going to be doing Hercules. So, John, let's start with you. Your initial thoughts, your initial impressions when you hear that Brett Ratner and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson are going to be working together on Hercules. What do you think?
I think it's going to be fun. I mean, I look at Brett Ratner and I'm like, look, X-Men 3, yeah, I agree with you. It wasn't a horrible film. And it was, you know, it is what it is. It's better than Superman Returns. And, you know, so it's literally, you know, that, you know, hey, they swapped out Bryan Singer. You know, he's on record now saying Superman Returns sucks, you know. Or is boring. I'm not going to quote him. So,
right.
But anyway, yeah, Brett Ratner. Yeah, I think he gets a bad rap. I mean, so, you know, some directors have good days and they have bad days. So, you know.
Roth, your thoughts?
I mean, I think that's true. That certainly not everybody, not even the greatest directors, knock it out of the park every single time.
Steven Spielberg did Terminal.
You know, like there are films from every director, even the ones that I think are phenomenal that I don't love, especially if they're prolific. I will say this, though. Brett Ratner does not have a great track record. I will also point out Red Dragon, where he took an amazing film, a film that we all love and adore, and followed it up with like just a hot mess. You know, I mean, Red Dragon, Hannibal Lecter, and I mean, to be fair, like it's in the script, it's inherent in the story that it just becomes ridiculous. But I don't love Brett Ratner. I don't. I don't love X3. I don't love most of the work that he does. But and you know, it could end up being entertaining and fun. I didn't hate Horrible Bosses.
Did Brett Ratner direct Horrible Bosses?
I think he produced it.
He produced it, yeah, but he didn't direct it.
Yeah. But so maybe
I know we're different. You, me, and Dennis are different in this because I know you and Dennis didn't particularly really like Horrible Bosses. I loved Horrible Bosses. I thought it was really fun. But okay, so here's my first reaction to this news. Number one, The Rock playing Hercules? Yeah.
That makes sense.
This is a no-brainer, sure.
But the one thing I don't like is them saying there's no supernatural elements to it. I was like, what?
I'm glad you pointed that out, John.
That's the only thing. I was like, Brett Ratner, I'm okay with. Rock, awesome casting. No supernatural Greek gods, stupid.
Awful.
Bad decision. Don't do that, whoever's writing it.
I hate this news.
Yeah, that's really stupid to me.
I hate this news.
And I think it's because of Immortals. They're like, well, look what happened with Immortals. Like, hey, why don't you do something better than Immortals?
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
you know?
Look, here's the thing. I am on record. I have no problem playing around a little bit with popular characters. So, for instance, I had no problem with Michael Clark Duncan playing Kingpin. I have no problem with any character. I don't have no problem with the Japanese actress playing a Chinese character. I have no problem with, you know, a British.
But that's because you're racist.
No, it's because I am not racist. A popular British character being played by an American character. I mean, I don't care. My argument has always been this. As long as the core essence of who that character is respected, then whether Wolverine wears tight yellow spandex or not, you can still nail who Wolverine is. Yeah, in the comic books, Kingpin is just a really fat, but also supposed to be really powerful, Caucasian dude.
Big boned.
But, big boned, if you will. But Michael Clark Duncan, even though, you know, he broke all our preconceptions of who Kingpin should be, at the core essence of who Kingpin was, he really nailed it. Hercules is the son of a god.
Yeah. Son of a god.
He's got the strength of 10 ordinary men.
10 ordinary men.
With his, what was the name of his little, did you ever see the Hercules cartoon?
Yes.
The little,
who was?
Scrimlor.
Yeah.
No, I don't know what
no,
it's
wait, one played the pan flute. Toot was the one that played, and then there was the centaur who, I can't remember his name, but he talked like this, and then he had this other little centaur creature who couldn't speak, so he only talked by playing a flute. I mean,
all right, you guys heard it here first. They're going to remake it that way.
This is a core essence of who Hercules is. Mm-hmm. This isn't just a part of who Hercules is. This is who Hercules is. If you're going to make a movie about some, you know, age-specific, muscle-bound hero, then go ahead. But don't call it Hercules. I mean, look, I'm going to keep a total open mind with this. As we'll get closer, we'll read more stuff, and I'll be open-minded to receiving it. But for right now, this is ridiculous.
My guess is that because of Scorpion King, probably The Rock didn't want to go back to like some fantasy element stuff. Plus, with Spartacus and all these other TV shows that are like grounded more in reality, maybe that's their goal. Was like, let's not have all the crazy stuff in there. We could still have them fight people. But I think it's a lost opportunity.
So do I. I just Rock playing Hercules, brilliant. But this isn't Hercules. Right. So this just ain't
as
Hercules.
we prejudge the movie 3 years before it comes out.
Now, granted,
failure.
We're only talking about this in terms of this one piece of news.
Right.
We're going to take everything else that comes over the next, over the coming 18 months, when we get more script details, when we get more insight into what's going on as the first teasers come out, and we'll form our opinions more completely then. But just basing on this piece of news, I'm telling you, I hate this piece of news. I hate it because it's not Hercules.
So what would you rather see then? Because I will say this, like I look, this movie may end up being a good time to watch and entertaining. I don't know. But I actually feel like if you're removing some of the elements that could end up feeling a bit more silly, on screen when you're talking about, look, you're not talking about even Liam Neeson playing Zeus. You're talking about The Rock.
Not playing Zeus, playing Hercules.
No, I know he's playing Hercules, but what my point with that is that when you put somebody like Liam Neeson, what he brings with him is going to ground that Zeus. When you put The Rock into the role of Hercules, you're automatically making it something a bit silly. You know what I mean?
Well,
and
I don't
so
know. I mean,
I think you are.
I don't think so. I mean, Fast and Furious, his role in that wasn't silly. He was just a badass.
Right, but it's because he wasn't a mythological, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So to me, anything that you can do to remove that element of the potentially silly and ground it a little more, The Rock was a badass. And make him a badass, which is what we like to see from The Rock. We want to see him be a badass mercenary. I think that's actually the right move for them to make.
But I liken this unto this. It's like Paramount deciding, we're going to make a Santa Claus movie. And the Santa Claus movie is going to star George Clooney as a 50-year-old real estate salesman in South Florida. And Santa Claus is it. Now, Santa Claus has nothing to do with Christmas and has nothing to do then why would you call it Santa Claus?
Because that will get people butts in the seats.
No, I think this is ridiculous. If you want to make that movie with The Rock, then you'd make it, but you don't call it Hercules because this is a complete antithesis of what the Hercules character is. The core of who Hercules is. He is the son of a god with the stronger than any mortal man in life. He's got superhuman strength. That is who he is.
Well, maybe what they're going to do is make a really small, like almost independent style movie. Like, do you really know who Hercules is? Everything you ever thought about Hercules, man, we totally flipped it on you.
And then suddenly he's just in a studio apartment with lots of cigarettes.
Right, crying in a fetal position. Hercules.
Dennis,
the man you never knew.
Weigh in here. Like, where do you weigh in on this?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's kind of more of a wait and see. I do agree that it seems to be part of the essence of his character, but at the same time, I don't know what the tone is for this movie.
Right.
So I think that's the most important thing, is seeing what the tone is.
Yeah. See, I just think you called something else then, and then you move on from there. Anyway, let's move on from Hercules.
The real Hercules.
The real Hercules.
The human years.
Let's talk about this. Obviously I still contend the biggest single piece of movie news in my life was the recent announcement that Disney had purchased Lucasfilm and was going to be bringing us Star Wars Episode 7 in 2015. Now, a lot has been going on this week since that announcement was made about rumor and speculation. Will Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher, and there's a report out right now that Harrison Ford is letting the word slip that he is not opposed to coming back and playing Han Solo. All that stuff is great, but also one of the big pieces of speculation is who will direct this film. Now, a rumor launched earlier this week that Matthew Vaughn, who is well documented on this show, I love as a director. I think all of us really like him as a director. X-Men First Class was fabulous. I think Stardust is one of the most underrated films of all time. I completely adore Kick-Ass. He's great. But the word came out that hey, he's been handpicked to direct the next Star Wars. And the reason you can tell is because, as most of us know, he recently and mysteriously just suddenly dropped out of directing the X-Men First Class sequel, X-Men Days of Future Past, and people started to put together, oh, this makes sense. That's why he left X-Men. Now, I did a video post, and we'll put in the link in the show notes to this, about the top 5 directors you should not want directing the next Star Wars, you should not have on your list to direct Star Wars, and the top 5 directors you should. And I had people hopping on my in the comment section saying, hey, no, it's been announced, it's official, Matthew Vaughn is directing Star Wars. And I try to tell them, no, it's not official. Like, maybe that'll come to pass, but that's not the word. That's the rumor, but it's just a rumor. Now Mark Miller, the guy who's kind of playing the Joss Whedon role over at Fox, he's saying that he and Matthew Vaughn made the decision together, basically, that Matthew Vaughn should drop off of X-Men so they could develop The Secret Service, which is one of Mark Miller's graphic novels. He says that's why he stepped down, so we could start developing this, because Mark Miller said there are 3 other copycat scripts being circulated around Hollywood right now that kind of rip off the idea of the Secret Service, so we decided we need to get moving on this now. Now, Mark Miller didn't come out and say directly that Matthew Vaughn is not going to direct Star Wars, but it does debunk the idea about why Mark Miller or Matthew Vaughn left the First Class sequel. And if he has gone to work on this other thing, and Star Wars Episode 7 is coming out in 2015, it seems unlikely that the Matthew Vaughn rumor is true. John, let's start with you. Let's assume for a second, what is your first reaction when you hear a rumor of a Matthew Vaughn directing Star Wars, and then what do you think of Mark Miller's comments?
All right, I'll go A, B, C. A, I was super excited that Lucas sold Star Wars to Disney, and because when I was 10 and heard about the 9 movies, that's all I wanted. Yeah. And then Lucas saying, wow, there's only 6, really started to get me angry. I'm like, yo, let other people have a shot at your universe, dude. You've already done all this cool stuff. You've built this amazing thing. And the prequels sucked to me. I didn't like them. So give someone else a shot to play in your playground. And he has. And then the day after he announced he was going to give half that money to education, I was like, he just like went up 1,000 points in my mind. Like, George Lucas, go make THX 4400 in your basement, make some weird stuff with crayons. It doesn't matter anymore. Make some cool stuff. He's a great filmmaker. Before Star Wars, he was making really cool stuff. And Star Wars is amazing, but I can't wait to see his experimental film. So that he's been talking about for 20 years. So right. Get to it, dude. You know, it's like, let's see it. You know, make it.
Is it a return to THX?
I hope so, or anything.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
If he's just doing biplanes, like him in front of a video camera, like,
yeah.
You know what's funny? Nobody talks about American Graffiti.
I love American Graffiti.
I love
American Graffiti. Yeah, it's kind of weird because everybody's like, George Lucas is a terrible director, and then you're just like, well, no that's not true, because I actually love THX too.
Yeah, I do too.
And I also love American Graffiti. But anyway, I agree about the prequels. I was super excited because I love Matthew Vaughn as a director. And for me, I feel like heading into this next series that you really need some, I know that your take is like Spielberg should do it.
No, that's my first choice.
Right.
But I'm not hard fast, only Spielberg should.
Yeah. But to me, I feel like what you really need is somebody that hasn't been enmeshed in this franchise for X amount of years. You really need someone to come in and freshen it up and bring it into the contemporary world and bring passion to it. I mean, the other thing that Mark Miller did say is he's like, hey, listen, if Matthew Vaughn did end up doing Episode 7, he'd be the perfect person for it. He's amazing, and we've quoted Star Wars every day for the past 5 years together, so he's obviously a huge fan of the franchise. I don't think it's debunking the rumor that he was in talks to direct Episode 7.
No, it just debunks that he left to do Star Wars.
Episode.
But here's the thing. I think that's a very clever publicity stunt by Mark Millar, because that guy's all about self-promotion. I love him as a writer. I think Nemesis, I can't wait to see that turned into a film. But that guy's the king. He's Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus of self-promotion. He has his own Comic-Con in London. Just come on. So he took the opportunity that when the world is looking at Matthew Vaughn, his buddy, that he's going to totally pimp the Secret Service, which no one knows about. Did you ever know? Have you ever heard of Secret Service?
Honestly,
I do, only because I read
We
comics.
talked about it. We were talking about it before the show started today. It's like, you know what? I have heard of the Secret Service, but I don't know what it's really about.
I read it.
You know?
It's cool. It's a creator-owned thing. It's like he, just came out a couple months ago. It's only on issue like 4 right now, or 5. So I just look at it as like, yo, that's because he's doing our Secret Service, son. Bam!
Yeah.
It's on every news site. Matthew Vaughn, this and that's. He just totally spun it, and everyone's talking about Secret Service. Whether or not Matthew Vaughn is involved in Star Wars is not even the point of Mark Millar announcing this stuff.
Yeah.
He flipped it and has us all talking about
But do you
Secret
think
Service.
he's...
I think also...
Do you think he's telling the truth when he says he left because of Secret Service? Is he telling the truth, or is he giving his version of the truth?
I think he's giving his version because the way it's phrased is that he didn't definitively say yes or no.
Right.
I think he's given his version. I don't think Matthew Vaughn left the X-Men sequel for those reasons. Personally, I think it has a lot more to do with like other, studio machinations, and perhaps the Star Wars thing was on the table or not. But
Secret Service may have been on the table afterwards, but why would he?
No, it was announced before.
Yeah.
It was announced months ago that he was going to direct it.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I'm saying like that them pushing it forward because there were these 3 copycat scripts that they found may have been an element to it.
Or it's like, you better shoot this before you go do Star Wars.
Exactly.
That could be it too.
Yeah. So there's like
a lot of those things.
There's a lot of possibilities for it, but I just find it. I find it hard to believe that it's just that simple. That Matthew Vaughn was like, I want to do the Secret Service. Screw the X-Men franchise.
This is the same guy who did Kick-Ass.
Yeah, but
remember, we don't like his mindset may be that these smaller graphic novel properties, they may be what gets him excited.
Right.
These might be the thing. We might have to beat that up. These might be the things that get. Matthew Vaughn excited. Look at Stardust.
Sure.
It's possible. And
Plus,
here's the other thing.
I don't know. I wanted to say the exciting news for me is the director of Superman Returns and Jack the Giant Killer is now doing First Class Part 2.
Oh,
so I'm really excited.
We talked about that before.
Guys.
Actually, I think Bryan Singer's going back to where he should be, which is helming the X-Men films. I think the first 2 X-Men films are beyond fantastic. So I think he's going back to where he needs to be. But look, well documented how much I love Matthew Vaughn. I adore this guy as a director. But I'm telling you right now, if I'm a Disney exec, no way I'm hiring him to do Star Wars, especially if I want a guy who's going to helm the next 3. You know why? Flake. This guy flakes on major projects like no other director in my experience. He was all set to do Thor.
Yeah.
They were in pre-production. They were ready to go. Boom, last minute, he ditches on Thor. Now, Kenneth Branagh comes in, does a great job with it. Fantastic. Okay, now he's supposed to. Well, and before
he was also
that,
supposed to do X-Men.
He was supposed to do X-Men 3. Before Thor, he's supposed to do X-Men 3. They were in pre-production. They were ready to shoot. Last second, boom, he walks off it, and walks
Brett Ratner.
Brett Ratner, who we've talked about before, probably takes some of the heat that he shouldn't take because this was just dropped on his lap at the very last second. Now X-Men.
Well, Thor was dropped on Kenneth Branagh's lap, and he managed to pull that together.
But he had a little bit more notice than Brett Ratner did. Now you come to X-Men First Class. Okay, he's announced he's going to direct the sequel. Now, granted, we weren't really close to the shooting date or anything like that. And then, boom, he walks off of that. I'm going to, as a film fan, I'm going to see anything Matthew Vaughn does because I think he's that damn good. But if I'm Disney or if I'm the head of any kind of film company and I'm looking at a guy that I want to entrust with a big property that needs to be committed to and work with for a few years, I'm not trusting Matthew Vaughn.
Well, there are things like contracts where it's like, hey, you can't do any other movie. I mean, there's certain contracts where he'll get paid a lot more money and he's not going anywhere.
And if anybody can create that contract, it is Disney.
Oh,
Disney will create a contract.
Can I just say from personal experience that Disney is the master of contracts?
The master of contracts.
Thank you, Disney.
I have worked with Disney too, and Disney is indeed the master of contracts. They've got you, man. I mean,
it's a book with your name on it.
They really have you.
You get to sign at the end.
Have you man, they still have Tim Burton. It's crazy. Like they have you forever. So if he did do it, I don't think he'd be backing out of it. Like, oh, I've changed my mind, Disney.
But it's all with love and care,
wanted
guys.
to screw. Yeah, we love Disney. Very much.
And I love Matthew Vaughn. I love him. Like I said, he's flaked on now 3 major properties, and maybe had legitimate reasons for all of them. I'm just saying that would make me really nervous. That's all I'm saying.
And you also think it's not necessarily the right idea for a director that's not in the position of Steven Spielberg where they can afford a huge loss. You think it's too much of a risk,
I'm glad you brought that up because we did talk about this a little bit. It's one of the things that, the question comes up, well, why wouldn't a Matthew Vaughn want to do a Star Wars? Why would he want to do something like a Secret Service instead of Star Wars? Now, aside from the things we just talked about, that, hey, maybe those are the types of projects that get him going, there's something you need to keep in mind. Roth brought this up when we were talking about Ben Affleck potentially doing a Justice League movie. It's like, really, okay, there's upside, clearly, but there's a load of downside. You mess up Justice League, you are going to be forever labeled by this huge geek culture as the guy who screwed up Justice League.
And they don't forget, we don't.
Nope.
And with Star Wars fans, look, Star Wars fans are already disillusioned with the prequels. Their expectations, my expectations as a Star Wars fanatic are going to be through the roof coming into the new films, especially now that you got the backing of Disney and George Lucas isn't behind you calling the shots. The expectations are massive. You do it, okay, you'll kind of be hailed as a hero, but also it's Star Wars. I mean, Star Wars is inherently awesome, but you mess up Star Wars Episode 7, you're done.
I know, right?
You're done. And so, like, I'm thinking...
This is the face of your audience, ladies and
You're
gentlemen.
done.
I bought a tiny island. I'll be never seeing anyone again.
Yeah, but I mentioned Spielberg. The advantage of a guy like Spielberg does. Spielberg has the cachet that he could make 3 bombs in a row, and his legacy is cemented for who he is.
Indiana Jones 4.
Yeah.
But there's one. But he's still Steven Spielberg. But for other guys, like I mentioned in my list of people who I'd love to see and I think makes sense to do a Star Wars, and Andrew Stanton, a Brad Bird, a Joe Johnston, guys like that. But the risk for them, and a Matthew Vaughn, if they take it, hats off to them for the guts that they're showing, because I think there's a huge downside for doing this film and a huge risk.
Right.
Rolling
Brad
the
Bird
dice.
Brad Bird is a great pick.
Great pick, because he's so,
Yeah.
he knows all about animation,
Yeah.
3D, he just did Mission Impossible
And he has
4,
the
which
right
is great.
tone
Yeah.
also too, because Brad Bird
That's
would
my
be
big thing is tone.
awesome, man. Because the only thing about Matthew Vaughn for me is that the truth is there's a sweetness to Star Wars. I mean, there is a sweetness to it that I think that I love and I want to see in these next 3 films.
Brad Bird has that.
And he has
Matthew
that.
Vaughn has a harsher edge.
He does.
A harder edge, so, you know.
Yeah, I love Matthew Vaughn, but he's not
And
snuggly.
guys like Bird and Andrew Stanton, whatever, have some Disney DNA to them. They have connections with Disney, so I think it makes them quasi-realistic as well. But no matter, even if it's Brad Bird or Andrew Stanton or Matthew Vaughn, it's taking a huge risk. And do they want to take that risk at this point in their careers? Could Andrew Stanton? I thought John Carter was an awesome movie, but it bombed. Can Andrew Stanton afford in his career, even with the cachet he has with Disney, to make a Star Wars and have it go well?
He has nothing to lose.
But
in
they
a
won't
way.
offer it to him. Sorry.
Yeah.
Because John Carter, like, he takes the hit. Like, directors in films take the hit.
Yeah.
But I think Disney, from what I understand, Disney has not put the blame on that on him.
No, I know, but it's like a lot of the marketing, red apes and weird, like, who's that dude? Why is it called John Carter?
Yeah.
What is this?
And,
Like,
and then they changed the title. The whole thing was kind of
Insanity. Yeah.
that was a whole like lesson in what not to do marketing wise. I
Horrible,
think.
yeah.
But I think, interestingly
movie, too.
enough,
I
I
thought it
feel
was
like I don't think they'd offer it to him necessarily either. But really, actually, Andrew Stanton has nothing to lose because John Carter was such a colossal failure. But it actually does have some of the tone and the elements.
Oh,
of the
it's
Star Wars
a
films.
grand-scaped space cinematic opera, really,
Yeah.
much like Star Wars. And I think that's why it makes Andrew Stanton's name interesting. I love the Brad Bird name. I love the Matthew Vaughn name. I just think it's going to be a big
they
risk.
should just have Stanton do John Carter 2 and 3.
Hey,
You know it's never going to happen. But
I
it's like,
would
hey,
love
it was actually cool
to
but
see
like, it was
John
such
Carter
a-
2 and 3. I would
Yeah.
love it, but it's just not going to happen.
I think they're sending him back to Nemo to.
Well, he
to
does.
lick-
He
to
does
lick
have some
his
more.
wounds.
He has some more Pixar stuff coming up.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's move on to this. One of the films that has been talked about a lot over the last couple of years and is very long in the coming and has had some drama in coming together is the new Brad Pitt film World War Z, of course, based on the novel. Now, in the novel, granted, full disclosure, I haven't read the novel. I've simply read about the novel. The novel apparently follows the story of several different people and several different groups of survivors and how they have handled the zombie apocalypse, as it were. The film seems to really just be more focusing on the one character, which is the Brad Pitt character. And of course, if I'm making a movie with Brad Pitt, I'm going to probably focus on him too, who is a UN worker who is somehow, some way, there is a way to stop the zombie apocalypse, and he's going to run out. This story's going to focus on that. The trailer for World War Z comes out today, and maybe by the time you see this video and we have it online, it'll be available. But I saw the teaser to the trailer. Now, traditionally, generally, entirely, I hate trailers for trailers. That being said, Entertainment Tonight showed a little clip of what they were going to be showing with the trailer. Dennis and I watched it just a little while ago too, and I love the feel of it. The feel was great. That swarming, the zombies in this kind of have like a sense of a hoarding swarm. Terrifying.
Yeah.
They're based on, they did a lot of research with animals and animal swarms and animal behavior and like uncontrolled kind of animal behavior, which I thought was sort of interesting for these zombies. And it's always good to do something different with zombies. I mean, I like the zombies in The Walking Dead because they're kind of classic zombies, but I love the zombies in 28 Days Later that are just fast and running. But I mean, this is my concern with this film, is that they changed the ending, and the person that they had come in and rewrite the ending is Damon Lindelof. So
I don't think that's an
for people who don't understand, if you don't know, Damon Lindelof, of course, most famous for doing the series Lost, but also wrote Prometheus. That a lot of us had problems with the script with Prometheus.
But remember, with Prometheus, he's following what Ridley Scott says. So if Ridley Scott says, I don't want them to have space helmets on, he has to rewrite the script and say the space helmets aren't there. Because of the Lost hatred, he gets that hit. I mean, there's all these things that, like, when you're making a film, things get rewritten every day.
Yeah,
and you're at basically the mercy of the director. Just like in television, it's the writers. So it's like it's a different thing. It's like I can't place any kind of blame. And I'm one of the people who liked Prometheus quite a lot. I really liked it a lot. And I thought it took for this day and age and tentpole movies where everything has to be almost like homogenized. That took a lot of risks, and I don't care that it wasn't even that much about Alien. It was set in the Alien universe, and it was an adult science fiction film, which I really appreciated. So, I mean, I had to argue with almost everyone I know who was like angry with that film, but I found like, hey, look, the only scene that just to bring that up is like, come here, little buddy.
Okay, there
that's
it is.
The only scene
there
that
it is,
bothers
but
me.
that's
it.
That bothers me so much. Like, here's the thing:
now we're not going to get into a discussion on Prometheus.
But having said that, I will say this: I do think that Damon Lindelof has, unfortunately, been attached to two franchises that there is a lot of fan investment in.
Right.
You know what I mean? That had like the Alien franchise and Lost, and things that were not in his control necessarily. He has taken the hit for. I think that Damon Lindelof gets an unfair bad rap. I do not hate him the way that other people do. I not blame him entirely the way that other people do. I liked many elements of Prometheus. There was so much about that film that I really liked, but I did have some script issues with it. You just pointed out the biggest one. But I did have a few script issues with the movie. And I just think that it's a risk on World War Z's part just because of how we think of Damon Lindelof at this point. So that the poor guy, if this ending is terrible, he's totally going to get the blame again.
Well, if the ending of this is terrible, he should take the blame for it.
Flip it and just say maybe the film was falling apart and they brought him in and he sewed it back together.
That's the thing. Yes.
I don't know.
It's called script doctoring. A lot of people do it and they're never credited.
But I do get concerned. I do get concerned when a film already in production decides it needs to shut down and change directions.
Well, also Mark Forster.
Kind
of like, hey, he already admitted he doesn't understand or know how to direct action sequences.
That's a big
And you're like,
problem.
sort of like, yes, I noticed when I saw that James Bond movie that you didn't direct. It's like, sorry, he's a good director on some things, other things not so much, and he gives it over to other people. Well, I'm not good at that, so I don't know that. I'm just imagining that that's what he did when they shot all the James Bond action scenes. He was having tea somewhere.
But generally speaking, I got to tell you, I am concerned about the rewrites. I am concerned about having to stop production, restart it, and stop it and restart it. I am concerned about them changing directions here and there, blah, 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 all that put together.
Look at Men in Black 3. It didn't really hurt that film, right? Right? Yeah.
But I will say this. I think Brad Pitt gets knocked a lot because of his good looks.
He does.
He does not get the credit he deserves as one of the top 10 best performers, I think, in the business today. And I got to tell you, while this was just a small sampling, this little tease thing we saw, it gave me at least a sense of what the feel of this film was going to be like in the scope. This is the first zombie film I've ever felt like it's going to make me feel there's actually a global scope.
Yes.
Because while they say in news reports all over the world, the zombies are coming back to life, you only see neighborhoods. And this felt huge.
Yeah, I know, right?
And I'm like, you know what? So in the midst of all this stuff, I'm willing to give Lindelof still at this point. I hated, I liked Prometheus at first, but I didn't love it. So I thought, let me give it another shot. And each time I've watched it since, I've liked it less and less. But that being said, I'm still willing to give Lindelof the benefit of the doubt. I think he's actually quite a gifted writer. He's made some bad decisions. So overall, I'm quite excited for this film, all things considered.
What were they, because reportedly Brad Pitt and Mark Forster were having a lot of friction. Do you guys know, I mean, I don't know specifically what, was it just about that ending?
I heard that wasn't true.
Okay.
Now, what I read from people who are close to the production was that that's not the case. But I don't know
But
factually.
the ending didn't work for whatever reason.
Whatever reason.
The ending didn't work, and now it's totally been reshot.
Well, yeah, that teaser for the teaser, which I also like. I think they're gonna do teaser for teasers of the trailer soon, where you just have like 2 seconds. It's like
here's the teaser,
Yeah.
the 2-second teaser for the 10-second teaser for the 30-second teaser for the full 2-minute trailer.
But yeah, I watched it on a little tiny screen, and I can't wait to see it like giant quick time stuff.
Looks great.
The horde of zombies. At first, I thought, oh, it looks like those Sentinels from Matrix. It looks very computery. But then I watched it again, and it's like actually there's individual. If you get sweaty enough, you want to click through it, like I did. It was like each of those zombies has their own characteristics of like, it's like moving separately yet within this animalistic group, and I was like, that's probably if that's done right and doesn't look all like bad CG, that'll be the most frightening experience.
Yeah, I was terrified just from the
Yeah.
thing. Listen,
It's also cool though, just really quickly. It's
Sure.
cool. I like the idea of it having be a UN worker going in to solve a pandemic, and it's a zombie pandemic. And I also like the idea that there's going to be a solution, because we don't see that a lot with
Right.
zombie films. There's
Yeah.
not usually a solution.
All right, we got to move on from this. Listen, folks, World War Z is coming, but not for a while. We've got some movies opening up this weekend, not the least of which is the brand new James Bond film, Skyfall. I think, I know the two of us have seen the film. I don't know if you've had a
I
chance to see it
cannot
yet.
wait to see it.
Okay, so we've seen it, and it opens in AMC Theaters everywhere. You can actually go and get your tickets for Skyfall right now by going to AMCtheaters.com. But yesterday, actually, Roth here actually had the opportunity to go and sit down with the star of Skyfall, James Bond himself, Mr. Daniel Craig, to chat a little bit about the film. So here, take a look. We want to share this video and this interview with you now, so take a look.
So you've had such a crucial role in the development of this iteration of Bond as an actor, obviously, but also just in terms of developing the stories and the tone and suggesting Sam Mendes and Javier Bardem. But I kind of want to talk about what Roger Deakins brings to Skyfall, because to me, there's this one shot in particular that I think encapsulates what's so amazing about the film and what he brought to it, which is just you stepping into your light. And it seems
At the beginning?
At the beginning,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And you just sort of step into your light. It's gorgeous. And it's like, we're going to celebrate Bond, we're going to celebrate classic cinema, but we're going to do it beautifully and with all of the knowledge and skills of this age. So can you...
You just answered it. I don't have to say anything. You've just done it brilliantly.
I want to hear it from you. What does Roger Deakins bring?
It's so much. I mean, it's when Sam and I first started talking, and I didn't realize, I'd forgotten he worked with Roger, but he'd done Jarhead and Revolutionary Road with him. But when we started talking about it, we were very passionate about the style. It's like the look of the early Bond movies and the kind of from everything from costume sets and Ken Adams' set and all those sort of things. But it's bringing Roger in and having someone like that. There's an amazing thing, I think, when watching the movie, which I'm sort of in awe of Roger about, is the consistency of it, because we go from lots of different locations and different, and I know that sounds a sort of simplistic thing to say, but with, the cinematography, it's a real language, and like you said, we kind of set the tone with that. And that it doesn't go down from that moment. It kind of gets better and better. We kind of, the shots get more interesting, the tone and the feel of it gets more interesting. He's a master. I mean, what can you say? It's like, he should get a handful of awards for this. I think he's done an amazing job.
I absolutely agree. You should, and it does support that fundamental idea of this is classic Bond in a contemporary, evolved setting.
Yeah, and we shot digitally, so in a way, it's kind of a great clash of all those things. He retained a classic look. It feels very modern. The sets look extraordinary the way he lights them. So, for me, it's a big thrill walking onto the set and knowing he's there.
I also have to talk about, obviously, Javier Bardem, because this is such a great villain.
Obviously Javier Bardem.
Obviously Javier Bardem, we have to discuss Silva, because he's so great. But this is what's really cool about the character, and I know you guys talked a lot about this. He's such a cool alternate universe Bond. And to me, it's like he's got that great feel of he's got nothing to lose, and so he's a bit free and a bit fearless. But that is what makes Bond who he is also. He's got limited attachments and not a lot to lose. Do you feel like that's something that Skyfall is exploring for the character?
For sure, yeah, and having them sort of become from very similar backgrounds in a way. having someone like Javier to bounce off is just, you know, it means you have to kind of up your game. Well, the character has to up his game as well. I mean, as well as just me as being an actor, I've got to up my game. But it's, the stakes are raised. Javier does it brilliantly, though, because like you sort of mentioned, he never forgets he's playing a Bond villain. So you get that fun and that kind of twinkle. He's got that anyway because he's got, you know, so much charisma. It makes me sick. But that's what kind of, you know, that's what you want from a Bond villain. You want to be kind of creeped out and kind of and you know, and though he doesn't have the underground submarine base and the kind of, you know, the rocket ship or whatever it is, he's got all of that in abundance in his character, that history there.
Once again, Skyfall opens this weekend in AMC Theaters everywhere. Jump on over to AMCtheaters.com to buy your tickets. Well, we've come to that part of the show now where we turn the show over to you. You guys dictate the topics we talk about because it's time for our mailbag. Once again, you can email us your questions 24/7 to AMCMovieTalk@gmail.com. And don't forget, if you got a video camera, a webcam, whatever, send us a video email, and if we use that video email, we're going to send you some AMC movie tickets. But anyway, you guys have sent us a lot of emails this week. We've picked out the best one, and Suri's got them selected out back there. So Suri, what's our first email?
All right, so first up, we have an email from Jacob B. Just wondering, what films that everyone loves do you simply not enjoy or cannot find the same level of appreciation? The biggest one for me is Annie Hall. Wonderfully written, but I just can't sit through it because Woody Allen is simply too annoying. Love the show. Wish it was back to twice a week.
Whenever you get into the conversation, this is the funny thing. Whenever you get into the conversation of overrated films, it's a loaded gun. Mm-hmm. Because number one, for a film to be overrated, that means most people have to love it. So no matter what you say as your answer, most people are going to think you're an idiot. That being said, and by the way, as note on Annie Hall, I didn't see Annie Hall until about 5 years ago for the first time. A friend of mine had a big Annie Hall poster, and she was like, "You've got to watch this," and watch it. I actually did like it. That's just me. The film for me that everybody loves, so I'm wrong, mm-hmm. But that I've just, no matter how hard I've tried to make myself like it so I can fit in with all the other cool kids, is Blade Runner. I don't hate Blade Runner, but for me, that's mine. It's just a film I could never understood the huge, massive appeal to it. But I'm wrong because all of my friends love this movie, but that's my one.
He's definitely wrong.
You
but
are
it's
wrong.
Okay. It's okay
totally,
to be wrong,
completely, absolutely
because
wrong.
that is one of the best movies, one of my all-time favorite science fiction films, and I love it, and I actually like it more when I watch it.
Me too, more and more. I watched it again a couple of months ago. I think it was before Prometheus, actually, and I just was like, okay, I'm so over people saying this is overrated. It's not.
Nobody says it's overrated. I am the only guy in the world who says it's overrated.
Beg to differ.
No, a lot
There's
of
a
people
whole
say
legion of people that say that because it's like hip to or whatever. I'm not even sure.
But at least you'll admit it on the air. A lot of other people will be like, if you're in a group of people, they'll be like, oh, no, I liked Blade Runner. Okay, they'll kind of back down and be like, I remember you saying you didn't like it.
Yeah.
Like Roger Ebert. Remember his first review? He ripped it apart. Now he's like, it's one of the top 25 science fiction films. You're in print on video with Siskel saying it. It's like, changing history. So
I think that there are some people too. One of our friends actually, who really is a smart, really sharp person. He hates Blade Runner, and he's an awards blogger.
But let's not leave me as the only one on this.
Let's leave you.
Noose. Right. I want to hear what films do you guys think are overrated that generally everybody else loves?
What? I wasn't prepped for the question, so I just had to think about it. And I was like, went through a bunch of films, and I think the most recent one that you guys might have loved, or people out there were like, man, it was fantastic, it made me think, was Benjamin Button. And I absolutely was bored out of my mind.
Up top. He's leaving me hanging.
Oh, hey. I swear to God, because it was like, everyone was like, it's so amazing. It moves me. You go through life with this person. I was just like,
Forrest Gump Part 2.
Forrest Gump 2.
I would rather see Forrest Gump Part 2 than ever see Benjamin Button again.
You did see Forrest Gump Part 2.
No, but I appreciated all the special effects. I loved watching how they created this stuff, like the months before the movie, and Fincher's precision with doing these amazing shots. Still left emotionally bored and never want to see it.
You also really disliked the latest Batman film.
I hated Dark Knight Rises. Oh, that's a great recent one. Yeah. Dark Knight Rises, Batman being trying to be Batman for 2 hours. He's Batman like for 4 minutes in the film. Bane's built up to be this giant villain that just disappears. Like Catwoman just blows him away into a corner. The other villain, surprise, dies in 5 seconds right after she reveals herself. Sorry, these are spoilers. Here's a big spoiler. It's boring. It's super boring, and especially a horrible ending to an amazing trilogy. Like those first 2 Batmans that Christopher Nolan did, I love, and I love The Dark Knight. And I still think he's an incredible, amazing director. I just think he was tired and was fulfilling a commitment, and I cannot wait to move on to the next thing. And
Roth, what about you? Give us a film here that everybody loves.
You
Come on, hang yourself.
No, I will say this, that Benjamin Button is one that I also really didn't care for. I felt like,
don't give us the same thing one because somebody else on the panel already said. Give us one that hangs yourself. Come on, what is the film that everybody loves that you don't like?
You know what I'm gonna say.
I don't actually. I don't.
No,
I don't
because
either.
I've said it before, and I just get so much flack for this.
Come on, we're constant.
Okay, I am not saying I don't like this movie. I do like this movie, and I think it is a good movie. But the year that it was nominated for an Academy Award, other
now
movies
I know
were,
what you're
now
talking
you know
about,
what I'm
yes.
talking about. There were other movies that were nominated for Academy Awards, including Children of Men.
Get to the
which
movie.
I don't know was nominated.
movie.
Actually,
Amazing
but
film,
but it should have been nominated. Pan's Labyrinth was nominated for, I think, Best Foreign Picture, and those to me were the better movies that year. And I do not think that this was the best movie that this director has ever
Drum
made.
roll, please. And
The Departed. Like I said, it's not that I think it is a bad movie. I just do not think it was Martin Scorsese's best movie. That would not be the movie that I would give him an Academy Award for. And I think that Children of Men was the better movie that year. And I think that Pan's Labyrinth was also the better movie
But
that
you're just
year.
talking specifically. That's not that you dislike the movie. You're just saying the awards ceremony. I think that was a gimme for Martin Scorsese. They were like, "Look, we didn't give you one for Raging Bull. We didn't give you one for Goodfellas.
the 20 other
for all
movies we
these
should
films
have."
that you should have won in. So here's a gimme because we don't know how many."
I thought The
films are gonna-"
Departed eclipsed those other films.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah, I really did.
I really liked The Departed.
And I love Children of Men.
Yeah.
And every other film that was nominated that year, for me, I thought it was so clearly the best film of the year. But that's just me.
There's a
that's
movie-
why it's overrated and underrated, right? We're talking about films that everybody loves or other people other than us. So that's
Well,
good. Well, we do. What's that?
there is a movie that is in theaters right now that people are really liking that I absolutely
But we can't
hate.
go into that. We
But
cannot
I can't
go into
talk
that.
about it.
Okay, let's go on. What else do we have in the mailbag, Suri?
All right, the next one is from Judy W. John, been a casual fan since way back in the movie blog days. I remember you once talked about movies being great ideas for first dates. A friend of mine and I were talking about this, and I can't remember all your points. Can you refresh our memories? P.S. Thank you so much for always including women's voices on Movie Talk. Always gives a nice perspective.
Well, first of all, I would never allow a woman on my set, but AMC kind of dictates that I should. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. And it is so funny that this email comes in because just last week, Suri and I talked about this very, very topic. And I actually mentioned to you that I had once written an article on why movies are great first dates. And here it comes in. Look, some people think the idea of a movie for a first date is kind of a boring blah, blah, blah. I think it is strategically a brilliant idea for a first date, and here's why. Generally speaking, unless you're in a situation where you've known each other for a long time and you're finally breaking the ice and going on a date, that's fine. Generally speaking, when you go on a first date, especially today, it's either like a blind date or it's somebody you don't really know that well. You just met and you've asked them out. There's a bit of social awkwardness. There's a pressure to perform, blah, blah. Like you go out with somebody you don't really know that well and sit down and have dinner as your first experience together, that can be awkward. The reason a movie's a great idea for a first date is because, first of all, there's not high pressure right away to interact. You're going down to sit down and watch a movie together. Now, never make a movie the only thing you do on your first date. Just make it the first part. And here's why this works. You go to a movie together. Now, all of a sudden, hopefully it's a funny one or exciting one. Now you guys have a shared experience. Now you go from the movie to go have drinks or go have dinner or whatever. You instantly, right away, have an instant point of reference where you can start the conversation. You can start talking, and then you can let it evolve from there. So it's low pressure, it gives you a shared experience, and it gives you a great starting point. So for me, That's why I always thought movies were great first dates.
Yeah, but it has to have the second part of it, because otherwise, like,
It was
Yeah.
a pleasure sitting next to you, staring forward for
Yes.
2 hours. Goodbye.
Absolutely
that doesn't make any
must have the
sense.
second part.
Yeah,
must
and the
have
second part, then you know right away if they're like, if you wasn't that movie amazing? It just had my brain was on fire. I was bored. Goodbye.
Yeah,
You know, it's like
but
it's
that,
such a quick
that also
thing, you know?
weeds out. That also weeds out somebody
Yeah.
that you don't really want to be dating anyway. Because if you guys have fundamentally opposed,
Mm-hmm.
but it has to be. I remember I went. This was somebody that I ended up dating for a long time. But he took me to see the remake of The Wicker Man.
Oh!
Yeah.
The bees.
On our first date.
Not the bees.
and it was because we were both really into horror movies, and he was like, "Oh, let's go see The Wicker Man. That'll be
Into
awesome."
horror movies and punching women.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Wicker Man,
and
remake.
also punching women. So that was maybe not the. But his poor face, like after we came out of the movie, he's like, "Oh God."
But even that's a great shared experience. 'Cause now you have this awful movie you can talk about together.
True. Yes, we
And
did
blame,
both.
and blame him. Remember our first date, Wicker Man? What's
Remember
up?
what
You're like,
Wicker Man? Let's
By the
fix that.
way, original Wicker Man. Another
Amazing.
film
That's
I
really
think is overrated.
no.
Oh,
Another
really?
film I
Okay.
think is overrated.
I really like the original.
And the original
Wicker Man.
Halloween. But anyway.
What?
I know.
What are you talking about?
John Campea has lost his mind. Lost his mind. Lost
I think
his
we
mind.
should all name movies that everybody hates that we like.
Yeah,
That'll be for another topic.
yeah.
We'll bring it up
That's
on
a
another
good-
episode.
Next time we'll come with a list.
Okay.
Strange Days.
So we'll go up. So yeah, use movies as a good first date, but just make sure you follow them up, follow my pointers, and success is in your future, my friends. Okay, Suri. What else? I know Suri paid very close attention because obviously Suri's had a really rough time with her dating life.
This is true.
So she
This
took
is
my
true.
advice. Things are going much better already. Anyway, what else we got in the mailbag?
About that part, but okay, the third one up. Hey guys, I must say this show is super awesome. This is by Thomas L. Hey guys, I must say this show is super awesome. My question is with Barack Obama being reelected for president. If Hollywood ever makes a biopic on Barack Obama, who would you love to see direct an Obama biopic, and who would you love to see play Barack Obama and even Michelle Obama? My pick for Barack is actually Denzel Washington, mostly because of his great work, the films Malcolm X and The Great Debaters. And for Michelle, I'd go with Angela Bassett.
You know, Denzel Washington does not get enough credit for The Great Debaters. That's actually a really nice little film, and that he gave, I think, one of his best
The Great
performances.
Debaters, I've never seen it.
Yeah, it's a wonderful little film. It's a smaller film, but he did and it's only about 3 years old right now, I think.
Denzel does not give bad performances.
No, he does not. Thanks a lot for the email, by the way, Thomas. I gotta disagree with you on your cast selection for a couple of reasons. One, and I'm not saying this is why you picked Denzel. Look, there are a lot of really talented black actors in Hollywood whose first name is not Denzel.
Right.
And it gets right. And I'm not saying this is why Tom is listed on. I'm just saying, quite often when you ever hear about like potentially great black characters, people just instantly default Denzel Washington. It's got to be Denzel. But the other reason I don't like Denzel for it is, as of right now, I think Denzel's 10 years older than Barack Obama. And if you're going to tell a Barack Obama story, you got to start with him in law school, him in where he first met Michelle, all that kind of stuff. And that is just not something he can do. Denzel's too old to play Barack Obama. Angela Bassett, one of the sexiest women ever to walk the face of the earth. But at this point, to play Michelle Obama, particularly like a 24 or 25-year-old Michelle Obama, again, with Denzel, she's just not in the age range right now where she could play that particular character. So I don't see that working.
Who should play Barack Obama? I say cast Barack Obama. Because by the time they're making this, he'll be out and be like, "Yo, dude, you want to get in on this?"
I say Bill Clinton should play Barack Obama. I don't know. That's tough because I think that's what I was actually thinking with your point was like, well, first of all, if they were to make a biopic about him, it wouldn't be in the next 4 years. They're not going to. Well, although W was made while he was in office. I was thinking like, who's the younger guy that would be an amazing Barack Obama? And nothing really.
Key. Dennis and I were laughing our heads off the other day. Dennis shared with me this great video of the comedy troupe Key and Peele from Comedy Network's Key and Peele. And they do some awesome Barack Obama stuff, like some really good Barack Obama stuff. I'm being facetious when I say you should actually then seriously play him. Yeah. But if you haven't seen it, look on YouTube for Key and Peele. Actually, Dennis, remind me. We're gonna put it in the show notes. Look in the description of this video. We'll put in the show notes a link to the videos of some Key and Peele Barack Obama
Don
stuff.
Cheadle Could be a good Barack Obama.
See, Don Cheadle's another name that a lot of people just default to Don Cheadle, but you're absolutely right.
I'm just going
he
through
would
my
make
Rolodex
a great,
of like somebody who looks somewhat like Barack. I just wouldn't call out like Faison Love as Barack Obama.
Right.
It's just not going to happen. Like, hey, what about this alternate universe Barack Obama?
You know who
what
else?
I'm saying? It's like, I'm just in my mind trying to.
I was going to say, staying in the Rhodey in X-Men or in Iron Man vein, but he's a little bit too old to play it too. A Hustle and Flow star,
Terrence
Howard.
Right.
But he might be a little bit. He might. I think I just defeated my own.
I think
argument.
it's
He might be a
really
little too
hard
old.
because Barack Obama has such a particular kind of, it's like if you were to reverse time somehow, then it would be like, well, Sidney Poitier would be the great, would be like a great Barack Obama. But I think right now, just off the top of my head, I can't think of anything. I think Angela Bassett would have been amazing 20 years ago as Michelle Obama, because I think they do kind of have a similar vibe. Also, Angela Bassett was in the aforementioned Strange Days,
right?
Which you should all see. But I can't think of anyone just off the top of my head, unfortunately, which actually I think says kind of a lot that we're drawing such blanks.
Right.
All right, I'm going to throw a name out there that no one will recognize, and I had to, full disclosure, I just had to look up the name myself. I don't watch a lot of TV, but one of the shows I've really been getting into lately is the new CW show Arrow, which if you take the horrible, painful, terrible narration out of that show, it's actually really quite good. But there's an actor in the show by the name of David Ramsey.
You mean like Blade Runner when you take the narration out?
Oh, but there's an actor by the name of David Ramsey who plays Oliver Queen's bodyguard in it, and kind of his sidekick confidant in it now, who's really quite solid. It's weird in this very surface, two-dimensional superhero TV show, blah blah. He actually, I always was impressed with him in the 6 episodes I've seen, where he gets some depth and he actually has a really good commanding screen presence. David Ramsey, I will submit for Barack Obama. So look him up. Once again, we'll put that in the show notes. We'll put the link to David Ramsey.
I'm going to throw Wyatt Cenac in there, too, from The Daily Show. Wyatt Cenac as Barack Obama, 2011. Wait, that's already over. 2010. Hold on a minute.
What about from Michelle? What about from...
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of thinking of that too, and I think questions like these, like I need time.
Time to prepare.
I need
right?
time
Yeah.
to prepare. Damn it! Like, I think Michelle Obama. I mean, who? Yeah, who?
She would be easier to cast because Michelle Obama, a hottie.
She is such I was thinking like all of these hot actresses kind of flew into my head, but none of them are really. I don't think they're both so stately. You know what I mean? Like, and are you gonna? You have to find the person, like when Daniel Day-Lewis is portraying Lincoln. You have to find the human being that can embody like that kind of leadership ability, which is a rare quality, I think,
right.
even in an actor.
All right. Well, listen, folks, we have gone over time. So it's time for us to wrap up this episode of AMC Movie Talk. Thank you so much for joining us. Listen, I want to remind you once again, stop what you're doing. Click the subscribe button to our YouTube channel. Subscribe to our AMC Theatres YouTube channel. Keeps you up to date on all the current movie news, our editorials, and of course, every episode of AMC Movie Talk. I want to thank, once again, sitting to my immediate right, Roth Cornett. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
To her right, Mr. John Schnepp. John?
What's up? Thanks.
The man behind the curtain who makes everything happen over here, Mr. Dennis Zen. Dennis, thank you.
Thank you.
And the newest member to our AMC team is Suri Serrano back there. Thanks so much for being here, Suri.
Thank you for having me.
And guys, again, thank you. Send us your questions to our mailbag. Send us those video emails as well so we can get them on air next time. Don't forget, next Thursday we'll be back. Go buy movie tickets to Skyfall. You can go and get them at amctheaters.com. My name is John Campia. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, bye-bye.